let's get right into it. Number 10, God bless you. So you're sitting there, minding your own business, when someone nearby lets out a sneeze. Without even thinking, you say, God bless you. Turns out people in medieval times thought a sneeze could launch your soul right out of your body. They believed your soul would just pop out like a champagne cork, leaving you there soulless and vulnerable. And you know who's always hanging around waiting to steal empty bodies? Evil spirits. Your body basically becomes an Airbnb for demons. So people would quickly say, God bless you, to basically call dibs on your soul before some wandering demon could grab it. During the Black Death, sneezing was basically a death sentence. It was like the medieval version of that first cough in a zombie movie. Everyone knows what's coming next. Pope Gregory the Great actually made God bless you official church policy, because when half of Europe is dying from plague, apparently the solution is mandatory sneeze blessings. Today we say it without thinking, like a verbal reflex. But next time someone sneezes, remember you're not just being polite, you're actually performing an ancient anti-demon soul protection spell. Number 9. Knock on wood. Picture this. You're telling your friend how you've never broken a bone in your life, and then, like some ancient reflex, you frantically start looking around for something wooden to knock on. Because obviously, if you don't find wood in the next 3 seconds, the universe will immediately break all your bones out of spite. This weird habit actually comes from ancient people who thought trees had spirits living in them. They believed these tree spirits were basically cosmic bouncers, protecting you from bad luck. The ancient Celts and Germanic tribes were especially into this. They'd knock on trees to either wake up the spirit for protection, or to shut up evil spirits who might be eavesdropping on their good fortune. It's like they thought evil spirits were that nosy neighbor who's always listening through the walls. There was even this old children's game called Tiggy Touchwood, where you'd be safe from being tagged if you were touching wood. Our ancestors basically turned "the floor is lava" into a worldwide superstition that we still follow. Different cultures have their own versions too. In Italy, they touch iron instead of wood. In Brazil, they knock 3 times on wood, because apparently evil spirits can't count past 2. You might think you're above all this superstitious nonsense, but watch yourself scramble for that IKEA particle board when you tempt fate, because nothing says, I believe in tree spirits, quite like frantically tapping on Swedish furniture. Number 8. Cheers. To your health. You're at a bar with your friends, clinking glasses and saying cheers. What you're actually doing is performing an ancient poison detection ritual. Back in medieval times, poisoning your enemies was basically the preferred method of unfriending someone. Except instead of removing them from your social circle, you removed them from existence. So people came up with a clever solution. They'd slam their cups together hard enough to make their drinks splash into each other's cups. The logic was simple. If someone poisoned your drink, they'd get a taste of their own medicine. Literally. But the whole glass clinking thing wasn't just about poison. People back then thought evil spirits were everywhere, just waiting to ruin their good time. They believed these spirits absolutely hated loud noises. So that clink sound was doing double duty, checking for poison and performing a tiny exorcism for your beer. The tradition was so serious that if you didn't look someone in the eye while clinking glasses, you'd supposedly get 7 years of bad luck in bed. Medieval people really knew how to raise the stakes on drinking etiquette. Modern day, we clink glasses without a second thought, but we're still basically saying, I promise I'm not trying to murder you, every time we toast. Number 7. The 7-year mirror curse. That instant panic when you hear glass shatter and realize it's a mirror? That pit in your stomach isn't just about cleaning up glass. It's an ancient Roman superstition that's been living rent-free in your head since childhood. Back then, mirrors weren't just for checking if you had spinach in your teeth. The Romans thought mirrors literally contained a piece of your soul. Breaking one wasn't just bad luck. You were supposedly fracturing your actual life force. And why 7 years of bad luck specifically? The Romans believed the human body completely renewed itself every 7 years. So when you cracked that mirror, you weren't just breaking glass. You were corrupting an entire life cycle. The Romans had a way to dodge this curse, but it was ridiculously complicated. You had to collect every single piece of the broken mirror, even those ninja shards that somehow teleport 3 rooms away. Then you had to wait for the next full moon and bury all the pieces by moonlight, basically giving your shattered soul a proper funeral. Now you might be thinking, that's ridiculous, I don't believe in that stuff. But I bet next time you break a mirror, there'll be that tiny voice in your head going, but what if? That's how deep this superstition has burrowed into our brains. Number 6. Crossing your fingers. About to take a test or waiting for some big news? Watch your hands automatically cross those fingers for luck. But this innocent little gesture actually started as a secret survival code. Back when being Christian could get you thrown to the lions, believers needed a way to recognize each other without getting caught. Crossing your fingers was their version of a secret handshake. But before the Christians claimed it, pagans were already doing it. They thought the cross shape created a spiritual hotspot, where good luck gathered. The intersection point was supposedly where all the positive energy concentrated. Fast forward to today, and we're still doing it without realizing we're using an ancient religious symbol. And when you cross your fingers behind your back while lying, you're technically invoking sacred geometry to help you be a better liar. Those early Christians were dodging lions in the Colosseum, creating this symbol so future generations could use it to convince their mom they didn't eat the last cookie. Number 5. The Devil's Triangle. Ever notice how you dodge ladders without thinking about it? Your brain just goes, nope, not walking under that, on autopilot. Well, you're following an ancient superstition that's way deeper than just avoiding falling hammers. When a ladder leans against a wall, it forms a triangle. The ancient Egyptians were obsessed with triangles. They literally built giant triangle monuments to their gods. Early Christians took this triangle obsession even further. To them, that ladder wall triangle wasn't just geometry, it was the shape of the Holy Trinity itself. So walking under a ladder wasn't just risking a paint can to the head, you were literally breaking through God's personal triangle. Medieval folks thought disrupting this sacred shape was basically rolling out the red carpet for demons, like you're creating a supernatural doorway and hanging up a welcome evil spirits sign. They believed space inside the ladder triangle was actually Satan's territory, so every time you walk under a ladder, you're technically taking a shortcut through hell's lobby. The wild part is, even if you don't believe any of this, you probably still avoid ladders. Your brain has this ancient warning system that's been running the same software since the Middle Ages. Number 4. Spilling salt. Watch someone spill salt, and see how fast they grab a pinch to toss over their left shoulder. They'll do it like they're trying to blind an invisible attacker. This superstition goes way back to when salt was basically ancient Bitcoin. Without it, all your food would rot, and you'd probably starve, so spilling salt was like literally throwing money on the ground. But there's a darker story here. Remember Judas, the guy who betrayed Jesus? Legend says he knocked over the salt at the Last Supper right before his big betrayal. Leonardo da Vinci even painted this moment in his famous Last Supper painting. There's literally a knocked-over salt container right next to Judas. Ancient people believed evil spirits permanently camped out behind your left shoulder. When you spill salt, you're basically sending them an engraved invitation to mess with your life. That's why you throw salt over your left shoulder. You're trying to blind these invisible jerks before they can start their chaos. Number 3. The Uninvited 13th Guest. Buildings everywhere skip the 13th floor. They just pretend it doesn't exist, jumping straight from 12 to 14. This all comes from 2 ancient dinner parties that went spectacularly wrong. First, there's this fancy feast in Valhalla, where all the Norse gods are partying. Everything's perfect, with exactly 12 gods having a good time. Then Loki crashes the party as the uninvited 13th guest. Now Loki's that friend, who always ruins everything he touches. His arrival as number 13 destroyed the perfect harmony of 12, and in ancient times, 12 was the magic number. 12 months. 12 zodiac signs, 12 hours on a clock. Then there's the other infamous dinner, the Last Supper. Jesus and his 12 disciples made 13 people total, and we all know how that turned out, with Judas becoming history's worst dinner guest. So now, thousands of years later, we're still so freaked out by 13 that we skip entire floors and buildings. We avoid 13 people at dinner parties. We get nervous on Friday the 13th, all because 2 dinner parties went sideways. It's basically the longest-running party foul in human history. Number 2. Make-A-Wish. Ever wonder why we stick tiny fires on perfectly good cake? Turns out we're performing an ancient ritual to a Greek goddess, and we have no idea. Back in ancient Greece, people would bake round cakes for Artemis, goddess of the moon. They'd stick candles on these cakes to make them glow like miniature moons. They believed the smoke from blown-out candles carried their wishes straight up to the gods. It was basically ancient Greek wish delivery service. The Romans copied this but made it bougie. They only did birthday candles for rich people because apparently the gods had a VIP list. Fast forward to 18th century Germany, and they started the 1 candle per year thing, plus an extra candle for luck because German winters were brutal and you needed all the help you could get. Today's birthday parties have everyone watching someone blow spit all over a cake. What they don't realize is they're participating in an ancient moon goddess ritual. And those germs getting blown all over the frosting? That's just a modern bonus feature. At least the ancient Greeks didn't have to worry about catching something from birthday cake. Number 1. Tossing a coin in a fountain. Standing at that fancy fountain, you're already digging for loose change. You don't even question why you're literally throwing money into water. You just know coin equals wish. But this whole coin tossing thing has a way darker origin than you'd think. Back in ancient times, people weren't just casually littering their spare change. They were literally paying protection money to water spirits. Ancient folks believed water sources had powerful entities living in them. These weren't Disney mermaids either. These were beings that could bless you with fortune or curse you with disaster. So people would toss valuable coins into wells and springs as offerings. It was basically a supernatural protection racket. The Greeks had spirits called naiads chilling in their waters, and these naiads would straight up drown people who didn't pay up with offerings. Not exactly the friendly neighborhood water sprite. The Romans thought Neptune himself was hanging out in every fountain. Imagine believing the literal god of the seas was lurking in your local water feature, judging your donation. But here's the crazy part. We're still doing this. The Trevi Fountain in Rome collects about $3,000 every single day from coin tosses. Those ancient water spirits really upgraded their business model. Every coin you toss is you participating in a protection racket that's been running for thousands of years. The water spirits must be laughing all the way to their underwater banks. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.